Hello world, and hello dear fans of Mate Debunked. My name is Susanna and I'm the creator of Mate Debunked. How is everyone doing? So yes, I know it's been a while, and if any of you have just watched my previous video, yeah, it was it's been a while since I've connected with all of you, and since I've created a video or even posted on Mate Debunked, this page. And there's really no good excuse for it, aside from the fact that I think I slipped into a little bit of a self-pity mode because life got tough and I felt beaten up by life. But I think one thing with that I've noticed for myself is that it is ups and downs, it is patterns, and I recognize when I'm in that down state, but also recognize what I have to do to uplift myself and to ultimately keep moving on. But I think what's really kind of, for me, what's hopeful is that there is this platform where what I share with you when I talk about, and what I talk about in these videos, are obviously to help you, give you some wisdom, some advice or insight about how to navigate love, romance, relationships. But I think the other side of creating these videos is it does allow me to share with you my personal life journey, and I try to be upbeat and optimistic and hopeful when I'm sharing information with you. But the reality is that I experience the exact same things and the exact same emotions that many of you go through as well too. And by that I mean that it's not always from this perspective of I've been through it all, I've conquered it all, I've mastered it all, so now I feel like I'm at this stage in life and I'm ready to share all my good experiences because I'm at a good state or a positive state in life. And I just want to let you all know that that is far from the truth. I do have, I believe, enough years of wisdoms and insight under my belt that I can share with you. But by no means is that the end all be all, because, as many of you know, life is never ending in terms of your learning. You're always going to learn something new about yourself. You're always going to learn something new about other people, about life. And one thing I know for sure is that, when I think I've mastered something, something else in life comes through and just knocks me out. And, but I think hopefully you recognize the patterns more and more as it happen. And that really is the whole purpose of soul evolution, is that part of learning the lessons, you're going to feel defeated, you're going to feel knocked down, but you have to recognize that they are lessons, and that the universe and life is not there to give you a situation or lesson so hard that you can't get over it. So you have to realize and recognize that. And I wanted to say that because that actually ties into this video topic, which is how to move on and how to get over someone, right? So I think that obviously one of the harder things in life, obviously, is if you were in a romantic, or maybe not necessarily romantic, but whether if you were in some kind of a relationship with someone and you broke up, they left you or you left them, but it was, that it was time to move on, or for whatever reasons you didn't know and it just happened, and you have separated, right? So how do you move on from that? And like I said in kind of just in the introduction, part of our whole journey as souls incarnated on this earth and as humans is to learn life lessons. And for sure, one of the hardest life lessons is how to move on, and how to get over someone, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. Obviously it's not always pretty, and it's not always, you know, a fairy tale. It can get pretty raw and ugly and depressing. And but again, this whole idea behind with all these videos and Soulmate Debunked is to help you navigate and help each other navigate through all of these experiences, and to let you know that, you know, whatever you're feeling, you are by no means ever alone in what you feel. You know, I think in general we all do go through the same experiences, and that's why we're able to find comfort with helping each other and with sharing with each other. Okay, so I don't want to ramble on anymore, and let's get right to the video topic. How do we move on? How do you get over someone? So I know that one thing I want to say, that I know when you're going through it and someone tells you, you know, you got to move on, you got to move on, or you keep saying that in your own brain, I got to move on, I got to move on. It's easier said than done, you know, like, and you know you need to do that and you want to, but for some reason you're stuck and you just can't do it. I get it. I've been there, trust me. And you know, it's never, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's never something that happens just like that. It's overnight. When we're going through so much of that trauma and that grief and that sadness, we want some magic pill, or we want to just sleep it off and wake up the next morning and have it go away and forget about that person and that experience and all that hurt and all that pain, right? But I'm going to tell you, we all have to go through it. And what I want to share with you is just some of the steps or some little tips that hopefully help you get over it easier. But by no means, you know, it's something that happens quick to really truly get over someone or to truly move on, right? So, and recognize that it really does just take time. It's day by day, and you know, and you have to trust yourself and trust the universe, and trust everything, that it does get better little bit by little bit by little bit. But it is one of the toughest lessons we all go through in life, how to move on and how to get over someone, right? So I think also what I want to share with you is that there's a few kind of outcomes, or there's a few, how can I say, scenarios that come out of when you first break up with someone, right? Or when you separate from someone. And the three that I always like to recognize is that I guess it's more so how people cope, right? So now, some people, they want to move on or move on to the next one right away, because perhaps maybe the one that you just broke up with taught you a great lesson about life and about yourself, and you know exactly now that was the last straw. You know what you will not tolerate, or what you will tolerate, or what you will tolerate, what you want in life, right? So some people move on to the next one rather quickly because they know exactly what they want. And if that's the case, then good, you know, good for you. But always recognize that there's always going to be lessons in that next one that you move on to, right? So the other way that people sometimes move on is that right away they move on to a next partner or a next relationship, because they use it as a mechanism to cope. In other words, for some people, I hate to say this, but it's almost like they move on to the next person because they need that other relationship, or they need that other person as a distraction of a way to cope with moving on or forgetting about that next person, right? So it's a coping mechanism. So in the third kind of scenario of why people move on right away is, you know, some people are just so afraid of being alone that they just need someone in their life. Okay, so obviously in those scenarios, when you move on and you perhaps go right into another relationship, the only one that I obviously kind of support is the first scenario, where if you've recently just broken up with someone and then you move into another relationship right away, it's because that new relationship is not a distraction. It's not for you to escape from being lonely, but it's because that other person all of a sudden came into your life, and you know what you're looking for, you know what you want. And sometimes the universe does do that to you, where you break up with someone, it's so traumatic, but then someone new and the perfect one comes into your life, because all of a sudden you have room now, right? So you've made room for the universe to give you that other person. So in that scenario, obviously, I fully support if that's the case, but make sure then, if you're moving on to someone, or if you're moving on to a relationship, if you've just recently broke up with someone, please don't do it because it's a coping mechanism and the relationship is a distraction, or it's preventing you from feeling lonely. Okay, so if you are in neither of that situation, so if you're not in the kind of the side of the fence where you've broken up and you've moved right on to someone else, you've broken up but now you're sitting and you're by yourself and you need to cope, you're grieving, you're in state of shock, you're sad. How do you move on? Because it's tough. So here are some of my, they're not necessarily steps, but there's some tips that hopefully help you recognize and just keep at the back of your mind, right, for ways of moving on. And again, there's no magic formula. It just takes time, but you have to during this time of self-reflection, or when you feel sad and lonely and depressed, that you will get over this. That I can guarantee you. That I say from the full confidence and the full trust and faith of my heart in the universe. And I just want to really share that with all of you, that you will get over it. You will move on. Trust yourself enough. Love yourself enough. Trust the universe enough. Okay. So having said that, what are some of the tips the tips that that hopefully you can perhaps follow along and see if it helps you? Well, one thing for sure is, don't obsess over changing yourself. Don't reflect back or think back and overanalyze the relationship that you just left and think, if I could have looked like this, if I could have done this more, if I could have done this better, and I'm going to change, then that person would have liked me more, or the relationship would have been better. Stop obsessing. First of all, stop obsessing over what you could have, should have done. What you should have changed about yourself, what you should have said, how you should have looked. Stop all of that. Stop any analyzing of the past and how you could have been better, how you could have changed. You are perfect. It was just meant to happen the way it is, and don't obsess over that. So stop, first of all, thinking about the past. Okay, don't overanalyze, and don't, again, get yourself into a situation where all of a sudden you take up a new hobby, you change your look dramatically in hopes of perhaps if you talk to your ex, or if someone sees you that you're a new person, you've changed, and that whole kind of fairy tale romantic thing where all of a sudden he sees you again or she sees you again, and they're like, wow, ta-da, transformation before and after, that kind of thing. Do it. If you're going to do something like that, do it for you. Don't ever do it in the hopes of getting that person back or for that other person. Okay, so first and foremost, don't obsess over anything that you think that you should have done, or how you should have looked or behaved or acted. Stop all of that, okay? Because that is really going to put you down in a much more deeper spiral, and it's going to be even more depressing, because at the end of the day, it's not the real you, it's not the authentic you. You have to I think in the times of a breakup, the first and foremost thing is just really allow yourself to grieve. One of the first big tips is allow yourself to grieve and be sad. And this is the only time, I guess, where I say, sure, have a little bit of that pity party, but just very temporarily. If you need to go out with your friends and just, go party and, well, I don't condone drinking or, anything that's not in line with your true authentic self. But if you need to get away, whatever it is that you need to do to just really feel that moment, be in the moment of grieving, that's okay. Everyone's allowed to grieve. You're allowed to feel sad. You should allow yourself to go through all the emotions. Don't suppress those emotions. Don't just say, oh, that's fine. I'm going to carry on with life. Everything's okay now. Don't pretend that it's okay. Again, allow yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling. And if you need someone there for you, call up that friend, call up your family members or whoever it is that you really trust to just be there for you unconditionally, not pass any judgment, but just be there for you as a source of comfort, okay? So again, first and foremost, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel sad, but then you really have to force yourself to snap out of it. And when you start snapping out of it, or even when you're in that state of grieving, don't think about the past, don't obsess over that. So again, those are probably the first most important tips that I would share and suggest with all of you, okay? And then the other thing is, there's going to be always the tendency that we as humans want to perhaps get into any addictive behaviors as coping mechanisms. And when I mean addictive behaviors, whether it's drowning yourself in sorrow with drinking, with shopping, with eating, whatever, any of those obsessive behaviors that are not good for you mentally or spiritually or physically, really be aware of those behaviors and don't allow yourself to slip into that mindset or that mode of being in engaging in those obsessive behaviors for a long period of time, okay? Like I said, it's probably okay right after the initial shock of it if you use it as a coping mechanism or as a grieving, but not for long term, okay? So really be aware of that any of those kind of addictive, obsessive behaviors that are not good for you, okay? The other, I think the big thing is as you're going through this whole shock and trauma of a breakup or moving on and trying to carry on with your life, is that I think it really is important to surround yourself with people, with friends or family that really will provide you that unconditional support, and again with no judgment. They're just there for you, right? And whether if they're there for you as a sounding board because you just want to like have a brain dump and just hash it out with them, that's fine. But again though, there is going to be that period where you're going to keep talking about it, what he should have done, she should have done, I should have done. You're going to analyze all the past scenarios and how you all could have been better. But again, stop obsessing over that. When you're spending time or you are there in the presence of your friend or a loved one, family member, use that time just to be with them, just to do things or just to hang out and talk about other stuff in life, okay? But don't use it as consistently for you to just keep spewing negative talk about yourself, about the relationship, about your ex, because at the end of the day, that's not going to be helpful and it's going to continuously put you in a spiral downward move, okay? So use our energy hopefully as more uplifting. And unfortunately, if you do hang out with people post breakup and they're helping feed into your negativity about the past, about the relationship, about the ex, be aware of that, and I would suggest that you need to perhaps step away from those kind of negative influences, okay? Because there is a time of grieving, right, when you've just broken up, but what you need is a lot more people that are going to help uplift you in those times of grief, okay? So those are some of my kind of tips, you know, tricks. There are things obviously that I've gone through myself, but again, just to sum up, at the end of the day, you allow yourself to go through and feel those emotions, but also recognize that, you know, what happened is not the end of the world. What happened is meant to happen. Again, you know, in life, it's ups and downs, good and bad, and that's part of our whole soul evolution, is that life beats you up, but you know, you're there to learn the lessons. And trust me, absolutely have 100% trust and faith that whatever you think is so traumatic and so bad and so negative and so traumatic, it's really not to keep you down. It's really to help you evolve, okay? And you have to believe that the next big thing is out there, the next better situation, better person, whatever it may be, is out there. And is it going to be perfect? No. You're probably going to have ups and downs within that relationship, or whatever you experience after you've moved on. But you have to have faith that it's always for your better self, okay? It's always to improve yourself. But don't stay stuck in that negative situation and stop overanalyzing, stop overthinking, because trust me, I'm guilty of it myself. I overanalyze, I overthink, and then I sink myself into this downward spiral. But you have to lead and think from the heart and really allow yourself times to reflect and listen to that inner voice, you know, and that's your higher self giving you guidance as to the next step and to move on. And a lot of times, believe me in this, when something ends, it's always because something else better is coming your way. Okay, so a bit of a longer video, but it kind of ties in with the I'm the One t-shirts and the whole soulmate experiment of playing online matchmaker with all of you. Because if you've recently broken up with someone or you're moving on, do know that there is a lot of cosmic stuff happening recently. There's a lot of new beginnings. So with new beginnings, things have to end, right? So trust that there's that part of things that are going on in the world and in the universe, but always believe that whatever has ended and whatever is not working out for you is because the universe is directing you in a better situation, or is going to be presenting you something better, okay? So keep that in mind, and stay positive about all of this stuff, and you know what to do. Always think about the self-love aspect of it. Okay, so again, as always, I love to hear of your feedback, suggestions, input on anything, not just this video topic, but if you do have anything that you want to share on this subject, please do so. And for those of you that haven't subscribed to my YouTube, please do so. The link, I'll always post the link. You'll find it. Again, just thank you, all of you, for your support as always. So until then, we'll get the next topic up in the next video soon. Anyways, hope you're all enjoying your summer. Have a great weekend. So lots of love, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.